Hello, everyone. Welcome to Straight from the Strip. I am Minty Bets, and joining me today, as always, is Kelly Stewart at Kelly in Vegas on Twitter, and Gianni the Greek Gambler at Greek_Gambler on Twitter. Today is Wednesday, April 22nd, which makes tomorrow Thursday, April 23rd, aka the first round of the 2020 NFL Draft. This draft is one for the history books because not only will it be probably the first American event we'll be able to legally bet on in a while, but it's also all virtual. A lot of us have tons of concerns whether it'll be glitchy and spotty and laggy, but what we're most excited about is to see who gets drafted where and when, and that is what this episode will be about. But before we begin, I want to mention that Kelly's proxy service is offering a free entry to one of the football contests here in Las Vegas and free proxy service. Kelly, tell us a little bit about that. I think today is the last day to enter, right?
So we were going to do what Vegas does and close the entries off 24 hours before the draft started. Brett and I were talking this morning. He's like, we've gotten such good response from it. Let's open it up for 12 more hours. So you guys have until about this time tomorrow to get your picks in. You can see the links all over my Twitter, Instagram, or you can just go to kellyinvegas.com, click NFL Draft Giveaway. It's basically 20 questions. A lot of people, I will tell you, the strategy is to play the market, right? Because we know that the lines have moved, and we've seen that, and maybe they're wrong. Maybe chasing that steam is the wrong answer, and we'll see some craziness happen and some of these long shots win. I'm excited to give away a free entry. We've never done it before. We've always talked about where it makes sense, and it makes the most sense to give back to our customers, right? And say, hey, guys, we want to give you guys a free entry and a free proxy service. So we're really excited to do that for this year. That's any Las Vegas-based entry, whether that's the Super Contest, Circa Million, Circa Survivor, or the Ultimate Football Challenge over at the Golden Nugget. So it's going to be really fun. We were looking through some of these entries so far, and I'm going, wow, these guys have some good opinions. So maybe a little bit of insight there. Maybe I'll just take it and formulate some bets off of that as well.
Right. Yes. Everyone follow at KIV Proxy Service for the link for that contest, or head over to wt.buzz/NDC, which stands for NFL Draft Contest. And Yanni, it looks more and more like UFC, whatever it's going to be called, 249 or 250, is going to happen on May 9th. Are you so excited?
Yeah, it looks official. It's going to be labeled UFC 249 on May 9th. Everything I'm hearing, I believe it's going to take place in Florida, but that hasn't been confirmed yet. I hope it goes on, because if it does, then what they're expecting to do is have UFC week after week after week throughout the rest of the year. So that's a good thing to bring a sport back. Don't cancel. We've already had one fight drop out, the co-main event with Amanda Nunes. She's a title holder. She's got every right to say, listen, to put my title on the line, I need more time for preparation. That's understandable. But hopefully it goes through. I've already placed, I think, 3 bets already, 3 or 4. So I'm hoping it goes through, and I think there's some value there. And more importantly, if it is the only sport, kind of like what's going on with the draft right now, where historically the draft has offered a ton of value to bettors, to sharp bettors, kind of like the props during the Super Bowl. I mean, it's free money for most sharp bettors. They look forward to it every year because you could get a lot of money into play, spread out your risk amongst 20, 30, 40, 50 bets. So you're kind of diversifying your action a little bit. And it's the best of both worlds, because you have a market that's saturated with recreational players during the Super Bowl. And now with the draft, nothing else to bet on. You're seeing that with this year's draft, where you're seeing a lot of line moves, a lot of betting syndicates taking advantage of public perception. And I think it'll carry over to the UFC, where you'll have a lot of bettors who don't follow MMA all of a sudden betting it because it's the only thing to bet. And anytime there's unsophisticated money in any market, you're going to find some value. So hopefully that's how it plays out, like the draft is doing so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And Yanni, I think you have a best bet up on WagerTalk.com for only $2 today, and this is for the UFC fight, right?
Yeah, I fired a 5% big move on it. 4% play and a 3% play. That's in a package, but Johnny put out the 5% by itself because it's different. The one I gave out 2 weeks ago for this 249 was on the main event with Tony Ferguson and Justin Gagey, and it was on Tony Ferguson, like I had shared. But those variables have changed. Now with Gagey having 3 more weeks to prepare, I have to reevaluate that fight. But I did find one that I just had to get to the window immediately, and I unloaded. So I shared that as my 5% play. Hopefully it wins for our followers out there.
Beautiful. All right, everyone, check that out on WagerTalk.com. Get Gianni the best bet, 5% for only $2 today. And let's get straight into the 2020 draft bets. I personally just have a few going on. I'm not going to go too crazy, but I know you guys actually both fired on a lot of them. Yeah, I know, Kelly, you have like a bet for every single subject. So let's start here. We basically, I guess, know that LSU quarterback Joe Burrow is going to be drafted first and going to be drafted with the Cincinnati Bengals. But the line for the second quarterback to be drafted actually changed last night, favoring Justin Herbert at -125 over Tua Tagovailoa at -110. Now this morning it changed again, and I'm seeing over at BetMGM that Tua is a favorite at -150 to go second, and Herbert is back as the third quarterback expected to be drafted at even money. I already liked Tua as the second quarterback to be drafted. Yesterday there was value for sure, but I don't know if there is today. What are your guys' thoughts? Do you think there's a chance that Justin Herbert gets drafted second? And if so, who do you think he goes to? Kelly?
I think this is kind of the talk of the draft, right? Everybody wants to know who's a better fit for the Dolphins, who's a better fit for the Chargers. I think the wild card here is going to be what the Lions do. Are the Lions going to take a defensive player and a CUDA, like it sounds like they may, or do they going to take a defensive lineman? Or are they going to trade with either the Dolphins or the Chargers? And that is kind of where I'm trying to figure out where we get our answer. I'm going to play it as if no craziness happens. The Lions keep their pick. They pick a defensive player. The Giants take an O-lineman, most likely. We'll get to that in a minute because that's one of my favorite bets as well. But I have Tua going to the Chargers plus 450. It is now plus 150, 170, depending on where you shop. I have no way of hedging it. I have great closing line value, but I do have my concerns that the Dolphins are going to take him. Now, it depends on who you think, where he's going to be a better fit. I do think he will be a better fit for the Chargers. I do think the Chargers are looking for their franchise guy. I don't know if Tua is going to ever end up being that guy. As we see, it's very rare that these quarterbacks have longevity. Now, it's very interesting what I've been hearing about Justin Herbert, and apparently the Dolphins have really liked him a lot more than they did in the past. Now, we had the whole hashtag tanking for Tua all football season long when the Dolphins started out 0-6, and now we've seen it change from there. So what I've got here on my notes is Tua's going to the Chargers. I've even heard of insane things like the Patriots are going to trade up for this, for that, and then all of a sudden they're going to get Tua. I mean, ridiculous things. I don't think he's going to the Jaguars. I do believe that Herbert is going to be going to the Dolphins. But, you know, it all depends. Herbert, I do think his senior year kind of regressed. Maybe his team wasn't as good. Maybe he should have went to the draft earlier. Tua, as you know, had that injury. The problem with injuries is we could see an injury like RG3, where once you get injured, you are injury prone and you are done. Or we could see an injury like where Tom Brady got hurt early on in his career, and he's been absolutely solid ever since. So it is Tua, I do think, is the wild card here, and I think the Chargers are going to take the opportunity with him.
Right. I don't think Tua's injury is that big of a deal. I mean, they can take him and deal with it, but it's about like long-term sustainability, in my opinion. So I think Tua's a great pick for them.
And that's where my question is who has quarterbacks of that athletic nature? We have two of them. We have Lamar Jackson and we have Patrick Mahomes. We did see Patrick Mahomes get hurt, but he bounced right back. We don't usually see these mobile quarterbacks have that long of careers in the NFL. They get banged up, they get hurt, next. So I guess it just kind of depends what the Chargers front office is thinking, or the Dolphins front office. I mean, they still have Josh Rosen that they traded for last year with the Cardinals. They still have Ryan Fitzpatrick, who said, hey, listen, you know, we're double-digit underdogs to the Patriots, but given the opportunity to beat the Patriots, I'm going to do so. And they all of a sudden stopped tanking. So Yeah, this is tough. I'm curious to see what Gianni has to say about it.
Yes, Gianni.
If I'm hoping it breaks down like this. If you follow my Twitter at Greek_Gambler, I've shared over 10 days ago, I started putting out props that we're betting. And I tried to isolate the ones I thought were the strongest. What I've done over the last couple of years is isolated from those strongest ones, the ones I've unloaded the most on, and shared them with my guys. And we've had a lot of success. I think last year we didn't lose a single prop bet. But this year I shared over 30, I think, on Twitter. Over 10 days ago, I gave out the second quarterback to be drafted. I gave Justin Herbert out at plus 325. He's now at minus 120, so we made a good bet there. And we also bet Herbert under 5.5 at plus 110. Those lines have moved our way. And also bet Tua over 3.5, laid minus 200 to do so, and took a little Tua to go to the Jaguars at plus 1,200, to go to the Raiders at plus 1,400. Now, those were smaller bets with the over 3.5, but the Herbert bet was a bigger bet. That was one that we bet multiple times that he goes number 2. We bet him at plus 300, plus 250, plus 200, and the under 5.5 as well. So strong opinion there. We'll see how it plays out.
So VR, I joined you on the Tua over 3.5 minus 290. Now we're seeing it up to 5.5. Is it worth? Yeah. Is it worth? I laid a lot of juice with that. Is it worth to try to come back on the under?
I love that question, Kelly. Here's why. On a bet like that, I think it's worth it if you can scalp it to turn a profit when you're wrong, because you minimize risk and put yourself in a position where you can't lose money at times. You know, if you hedge if you scalp the whole amount, you're just hoping you were wrong with your initial bet and you make it on up in the back end. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that when it moves that significantly. But on the flip side, there are some bets that are just one-sided, meaning the sports books want you to bet one side and nothing else, and the wise guys are doing the exact opposite. And it happens every year with the draft. It happens every year with certain props with the Super Bowl, where the outcome is pretty much already known. And the perfect example, Joe Burrow to go number 1. He was minus 400. As far as last week, there were still guys from back in Philly asking me if I could get them down Burrow to go number 1. They're willing to lay minus 5,000. Because to them, they think it's 100%. So to make 2% on your money on 100% shot is worth it to guys that have unlimited bankroll. They'll keep firing. They'll keep, even at minus 2,000, 3,000, if they'll just keep doing it if they think it's automatic. And you saw it with Chase Young, where the under 2.5. The first order I got was at minus 300. And then there were guys willing to lay minus 1,000 just hours later because it was so certain. So with bets like that, I don't think scalping's the right move. But with bets where you don't have a certain already know that's the outcome, I think it's a good approach, especially if you don't have unlimited bankroll. If you could lock it, scalp a position where the only way you can't lose money, it's either you break even or make money if the underdog wins. I don't think that's a bad bet to make for most bettors. It just depends on your risk, how much risk you want to take on. Everyone's risk tolerance differs. But for me, that's how I approach it. The ones that I think are certainty, just keep piling more money on. Forget the price. Just try to get down as much as you can.
Okay. Right, yeah, point. I mean, I definitely, I haven't came back on it, but laying 290 was pretty painful for me in its own right. So I have another question we'll get to when we start talking about the O lineman, because I definitely, we'll call it hedged off after getting some different news. But sorry, Minty, I'll let you take over.
Oh my God, it's okay. I'm actually all over the place with my notes here. The next thing I was thinking of was I can think of like 8 teams that desperately need coverage and probably need to draft a cornerback. Off the top of my head, I can think of Diggs, Terrell, Henderson, Okuda, which I know you like, Kelly, Fulton. how many cornerbacks get drafted in the first round? Line is set at 4.5. Do you guys have any bets on this one? The over is at -139 now, and the under is at
I've got to count. I've got to count and see what I've got.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm kind of leaning the over in this first round, 4.5 cornerbacks, but I don't know.
I've got 5. Our buddy Ralph sent me his mock draft. He has 6. So what's the juice on the 4.5?
I'm sorry?
What's the juice you have on the 4.5?
Oh, -139. Over, okay. Yeah, under is +115. And I kind of would lay with the over. It's really not that bad.
I mean, I'm looking at another one, and they have 7 going in the first round, which is a little steep for me. I guess Christian Fulton, AJ Terrell, Jalen Johnson. You could make a case for none of those guys get drafted in the first round, or you can make a case for all 3, which leaves you sitting at 4 guys drafted in the first round, which is probably where they made their number. I definitely think you can get to 5, so I like that over.
I like it too. Yanni, what are your thoughts?
I haven't bet. I don't have a bet on that prompt, but I think that's the only way you can look. Again, I don't know if there's any value left, but I wouldn't go the other way. I think that's the only way you could look, especially with so many teams needing secondary and available players out there. It's just a matter of, are there going to be any changes that we can't foresee with trades to teams moving up, moving down?
Right.
That's what throws a wrench into things.
You're absolutely right. I do feel like, for lack of better words, there's going to be a lot of fuckery going on.
That's what happens, where a variable changes and then everything changes. You know what I mean? Where all of a sudden the models don't mean shit, because models are only as good as the data that you're inputting. And if the data you've inputted is wrong because a wrench has been thrown in, models are irrelevant. We can't talk about models
anymore. The news has beaten my brain to death.
Oh, God, Kelly, I'm sorry. I have to say this real quick. Do not, under any circumstances, watch mainstream media, because that'll just drive you nuts. Because 2 weeks ago, they were yelling about how the doctors are going to have to be choosing who they're going to let live, who they're going to let die, because we don't have respirators. And now they're saying they don't have room where to put all these respirators. Like,
ventilators and everything. It's ridiculous.
Are we all going to
every time I hear model now,
or do we have too many of them? It just changes. And with the clickbait nonsense and the mainstream media just, trying to get any kind of attention, it's just ridiculous. They put more fears and uncertainty into people than anything else. I say stay away from that nonsense.
It just made me laugh when you're talking about models, and I'm like, oh my God. I feel like, and I don't have any personal models. I have a lot of really great sports handicappers that allow me to use their models or show me their projections, and they should just be running the CDC.
Yeah. Well said. They should have a one of those analytics guys that does betting sports to model the coronavirus. You're absolutely right.
Back to the draft.
Anyway, enough of the coronavirus. It's okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I was thinking about the press conference yesterday about Sislak, and I don't want to talk about it. Anyway, next up is the total wide receivers drafted in the first round. I have it at 5.5. The over juices at 176, and the under at +145. This is from BetMGM. I don't really know how I feel. I'm thinking the over, but there's a lot of good wide receivers on here. Kelly, I know.
Go ahead, Minty.
Oh, I was going to also say the first wide receiver drafted, I know you like Ruggs, right? As well.
So I have Ruggs at 5-1. Now, I've heard different rumors. John Murray actually just texted me something he saw about Jerry Jeudy's draft stock may drop because due to reported knee issues that weren't disclosed
medical record
from 2018. So I got a text from him about that, which makes me not happy that he was hurt, but happy that I may win my bet at 5-1. Now, I do a lot of stuff with sports bettors every single day, but one of the interesting things that I get to do with Bleacher Report is I get to work with athletes that know the game far better than I'll ever know, and I get to work with media people who are in the trenches that have Bill Belichick's phone number, things of that kind of crazy nature where they get great inside information. And I did a show with Matt Miller yesterday, and Matt Miller said, Kelly, you are the queen of betting against overreactions. He goes, you told me this. That's why you bet against the Bears last year. That's why you bet against the Browns. He goes, the overreaction is this wide receiver draft class. And I'm going, Matt, I love this wide receiver draft class. I got 6 of them going in the first round. He goes, trust me when I say reel it in just a little bit. And I think that this number is about right. I do still have 6 guys going. Judy, Lamb, Ruggs, Jefferson, Higgins, and Mims is on the fringe for me. So depending on, I know that certain betting outlets will allow you to bet over 4.5, but you have to lay some juice. Over 5.5, over 6.5 starts to become plus money, things of that nature. So kind of shop around and make sure that you're getting the best number here. But I do have Ruggs at 5-1. He's now 3-1. CeeDee Lamb, I feel like we know Jerry Judy's probably the best guy, but then that you throw the injury stuff into the mix. But are they throwing that news out there to kind of throw off another team? But I've been told that the Jets don't want Judy, that the Raiders want Lamb.
Raiders, yep.
The Broncos want either Higgins or Jefferson or Ruggs. So it all kind of depends. And we may see some teams trade up if they think their guy's going to be gone.
Right.
But I think they did a great job with the 5.5 number. Like I said, I'm hoping for 6. I don't even know where it's at now. So on one of these apps, I believe I laid 240 over 5.5 receivers. I may come back on that one, because don't forget, guys, you have to get all your bets in quickly, because 24 hours before the draft, everything gets cut off, at least here in the state of Nevada. So that's an interesting one. I may come back if I can find a nice plus number to do that, because I bet a lot of this stuff really early, just trying to get ahead of the market. And now I'm going, oh shit, I was way wrong. You know what I mean? Like I mentioned, we'll bring up again when I talk about the lineman stuff, but there are so many of these things that I'm trying to middle, like the Jake Fromm draft position, Jalen Hurts. There's a few of these that I think that there's some value in there. If you can get plus money on both sides, as Gianni mentioned, you're scalping, you're hanging out for free. It doesn't matter what happens.
Right. Gianni, what are your thoughts on the wide receivers drafted in the first round and the first one to go?
We love, one of the biggest bets taken was the Judy over 11.5. I bet that the first time I bet it was the 14th of April, I think, or 13th or 14th of April. So well over a week ago. And what was the line I got there? At minus 140 over 11.5. I don't know what it is sitting at right now. Probably, hopefully it's higher. And that one we unloaded on a multiple times. So that was a bigger bet, but a smaller bet was also on the wide receiver prop. I bet that under 5.5 at plus 175. Not one of our bigger bets, but definitely the side we're on, the under 5.5. And again, having Judy over, I really need him to go over that 11.5 slot, because that's a pretty big bet.
Ditto. I'll be really happy if Ruggs goes first. If Tua goes to the Chargers and Ruggs goes first, we had a very successful draft, and I will wash my hands of it. But there, as Gianni said, some of these are more fun bets. Some of these are more things like for example, I bet that the Lions would trade their third pick just for fun. I laid 130. I didn't bet a significant amount on it. Like I said, I'm kind of cheering for bad things to happen. I want to see somebody break their computer. I need to see dogs in the background. I need to see a screaming child coming running through the room while dad's on the call with the GM. This is literally going to be our entertainment for, like, as you mentioned, it's been a while. I mean, don't get me wrong. I bet Carmine's Nicaraguan soccer today, but I can't even watch it. I cannot even bring myself to try to find it online and watch it. I just have to check the score on the app, and that's the best I can do. So this is going to be our big time entertainment for basically the next few weeks.
Absolutely. I think the draft is already, like, a lot of unexpected things already happen in the draft. So this is just going to be, I think, just 10 times better. There's going to be so many awkward silences with communication and lagginess, and I'm just so looking forward to it. It's bad to say, but you're right.
We've been doing stuff via Skype for a long time, and now we're doing stuff on Zoom and other outlets. I did some stuff on IG Live this morning, which I've never had a problem. There was like at least a 1.5 second lag, and next thing you know, everybody's talking over one another, and it just becomes a logistical nightmare.
Yeah. So I don't know how they're going to pull it off, but if they do, like, good for them. I know they're working hard to pull this off. This next one, real quick, is just like kind of a fun one. The total number of Alabama players drafted in the first round. I have 5.5 as the line. There's tons, as we know, great players from Alabama: Tua, Judy, Ruggs, Wills, Lewis, Diggs, so many. So do you guys have any thoughts on over or under 5.5 Alabama players drafted? Line's not too bad. Over is at plus 105, under is 125. Yeah.
Based on my mock, I would have to go under that 5.5 you said. I haven't bet that prop, but yeah, based on my mock, I would have to go under.
Wow. Okay, Kelly, what are your thoughts? I kind of feel over, but I don't know.
I haven't bet it.
5.5 is a lot.
I have 4 Alabama players going first round.
So I guess the line is kind of right. And now what?
Well, Xavier, okay, so I will say that Xavier McKinney could really screw me up on that, and it could go over 5. I think he's like the wild card, depending on if Miami takes him.
We bet him over 25.5 at plus 120. Is that a good bet or bad bet? I don't even know who he is, to be honest with you.
He's the strong safety from Alabama, but
okay.
I have him as a possibility of either going to Minnesota, Miami, maybe to Baltimore. The thing is that Baltimore needs an edge rusher, so there's a lot of mix that needs to happen there. I mean, again, this is not an easy draft. I don't think. No. I think there's a lot of big name talent, and this is, I should say, the most I've ever spent on a draft.
Me too.
And that includes fantasy draft. I mean, I usually do my fantasy draft homework, but this is by far the most homework. I don't need to. Mm-hmm. The draft is something you can sit back and watch, and you can cheer as a fan and get excited to see who goes where. I have maybe had 1 or 2 other bets on the draft ever, and one was an NBA draft, so it doesn't even count. But, I mean, I've got 12 bets on the NFL draft. That's a lot for me, considering that I don't bet this stuff.
Keep firing. You got time.
Yeah, we got time. Good thing. I'm so happy that I went to Caesars before all this and pulled out 9/10 of my money so that I can't fire much more. That's the really good thing here. But it is interesting to see what these kind of coaches really do go through, because there's 6 or 7 offensive tackles. You know, they either played at USC or Clemson, or Josh Jones is from Houston. How much Houston football did I watch this year? I don't know. And you kind of get in a tight spot here where, you know, Mekhi Becton, for example, fails a drug test. Do you care? Do you not care? I don't know. Do we really care about kids smoking weed anymore? I don't know.
And that keeps getting steamed. I get the first time I bet Becton, Kelly, April 14th, I tweeted him out at over 7.5, minus 140. The final bet I got asked to bet on him, I bet over 8.5. I tweeted that out on the 20th. So 2 days ago, over 8.5 at minus 150. So
it's interesting. I mean, I could see him going to Arizona. I could see him going to the Jets if the Jets don't take a receiver. That line looks
right near where it should be right now. I don't know if I'd be betting at over 8.5 at where that price is.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, there is, I think Wirfs, Wills, we know are going to be the first 2 going. Thomas is in that mix with Becton, but you kind of have to get in the minds of these older coaches, these older GMs. Like, to me, I don't care the kid got caught smoking weed, but does that mean he's going to be a problem later on down the road? Because if he's breaking such rules, I mean, to me, it's not a big deal. To me, there's a lot of other things that they need to worry about, especially if he's still a stud athlete. But maybe some coaches decide to pass on him. We saw it with the Honey Badger, and now he's, you know, stepping up and one of the better safeties in the game.
Yeah, I agree. So have you guys seen well, I'm sure you have, but what is the biggest overreaction that you guys have seen with the NFL draft bets? Kelly, I know you've seen probably quite a few. Can you think of any off the top of your head?
So there's been some interesting overreactions, right? The one that's, I don't want to say this. I will agree with Matt. I said earlier that Matt and I did a show the other day about the receivers in the first round. I do think that now they're getting a lot of hype. I'm going to leave that one alone. I don't think you should bet it now. I don't see a lot of like, oh, this is like so going to happen. This is crazy. I think the conspiracy theories behind it are more funny to me. Like, who's going to trade up? How's this going to happen? I mean, the funniest one to me has nothing to do with the draft. And actually, the biggest overreaction in the last 2 days has been the Bucs to win the Super Bowl. I need everybody to pump the brakes.
I was literally going to ask that after this question. Is like, I've seen so many line movements since then. What do you think? I just don't think the Bucs are going to make it to the Super Bowl. This is totally an overreaction. And a lot of people are comparing it to how overhyped the Browns were last season, which I totally think that it's like the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's very interesting to see here where, I mean, Belichick's out there playing 4D chess, right? Trading guys that aren't even playing for him anymore. Good for him. I just think that everybody needs to calm down. And now, mind you, I don't bet any regular season win totals until after the draft, until after free agency. You know, guys get hurt all the time, unfortunately. And we don't know when they're going to start practice. So they're going to start practice and we're going to start seeing, you know, OTAs during the regular time in July. I'm not sure. So right now I'm just hanging tight. I know that there's some good numbers, but one of my buddies offered me 9.5 yesterday on the Bucks. He wanted the over. So I took the under. I said, listen, we'll call it even money to bet each other. And we'll see how that one plays out.
Yeah, good stuff. Gianni, have you seen any big overreactions for this NFL draft?
Yeah, the one, again, I got to get back to that Judy prop because we went over 11.5. It's now 12.5. I'm seeing a bunch of 12.5s. And the reason I bring that up is I don't think it's an overreaction, but I think recreational bettors are looking at it that way because speaking to bookmakers, the under 12.5 is one of the most one-sided bet props from casual bettors. Like from books going from 11, getting that steam from 11.5 and going to 12.5, bettors were ready to go under 11.5. Now that they're seeing 12.5, they can't get to that under fast enough. So I think the books did the right thing. I think the market's overreacting to thinking there's value that's not there. And the one steam play that I fear the value's gone. I bet Jedrick Willis at under 10.5. And that was one of the bigger bets placed. I don't even know when I tweeted that out, a week ago or so. And it went through 9.5. People are still betting it. Through 9, down to 8.5 is the last I saw. That's too much of a move.
Yeah.
You know, I think adjusting the VIG makes a lot more sense than adjusting the number. Now you set yourself up for that 2-slot middle from under 10.5 to over 8.5. That's a great bet. But it seems like the information shows the under still the sign because the money just keeps coming in one way. For me, that looks like a slight overreaction. That, and again, the Judy from the market thinking that's the right side. I don't think so.
Absolutely. And Gianni, what are your thoughts on this whole Bucks to make it to the Super Bowl?
I always say this, I want to buy low and sell high. I never want to buy high and sell low. And that's exactly what you're doing. Now, if you got down before they got Brady, great. You made a good bet. If you got down after they got Brady, not that good of a bet. I mean, I get it. How much does Gronk really add as far as season?
I don't know. Gronk's looking awful skinny, guys.
I mean, how much does he influence a game line, let alone season wins, let alone winning a division, winning playoff games, getting to a Super Bowl and winning a Super Bowl? I just don't see how that one piece reflects any kind of adjustment being warranted without seeing it on the field yet. To me, that's nothing but perception and an overreaction on that perception. Even if you bet the Bucks and they make it to the Super Bowl, it's still a perfect example of buying high. And there's really no upside to it. To me, I'd rather make good bets than being right. You know, so for me, it's more about that. I just think long term, that's how you make money, instead of just trying to be right. And I don't know. I just don't think when everyone's buying, I don't want to be that last guy in line doing the same thing.
Right.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. And Gianni, all betting aside, us as Saints fans, are you scared at all of the Bucks?
No.
Yeah.
If anything, I just think that's going to give us some value there now. I love stuff like that because if anything, now it takes somebody attention away from a team like the Saints.
So we're going to be quiet contenders, really.
Exactly. There's attention on the Bucks. So I think that may not be a bad thing as far as us for bettors and as fans. Again, anytime the shine's elsewhere, that's not a bad thing for betting because they're such a good team. So
They are.
If they could get some value on a team like the Saints, that's exactly what I'm looking for. So I don't think it's a negative. I think it's a positive for us.
Yes, I think so too. Now, Kelly, you actually wanted to touch up on the O-line. I do not have too much on the O-line. So tell me what you have for bets on this, for the draft.
I have a lot. So
I'm going to write this.
too much. For someone who doesn't know that much about O-linemen, I have too much. So early on, I bet Jedrick Wills plus 495 to be drafted by the Giants. And then that was when Wirfs was the favorite. When Jedrick Wills got bet down, I bet Wirfs plus 295. So I have both of those. I'm pretty much convinced unless something crazy happens, they're one of the two first O-linemen going. So either way, I'm making a little bit of money there. You mentioned the number of O-linemen being drafted in the first round. There's a lot of really good guys. Gianni touched on the few that I was kind of looking at as well. And where do we see some of these guys go? I do think Andrew Thomas is probably going to be either around the 8 or 9 mark, depending on who moves things around. And then you have the Jets, who you have to really consider. Are the Jets taking a receiver? Are they taking an O-lineman, which kind of what we talked about with Mekhi Becton. I don't see Jedrick Wills going that far down. A lot of people seem to think something crazy is going to happen. But, yeah, I mean, I looking at it from this perspective, let me see. Sorry, I'm trying to log into an account really quick so I can tell you guys what else I bet. As far as O-linemen go, most of the stuff's on my phone, so I was trying to pull it up. But every once in a while, you can get a better number. You know, those places that Johnny gets mad whenever I talk about them on the video. Okay, so I have over 6.5 offensive linemen drafted in the first round, which we talked about. I laid 130. I have Wills to be the first defensive lineman or offensive lineman drafted. And then, like, as I mentioned, I came back because I'd heard about Wirfs and they were looking to do it. I took him plus 115. So kind of just hanging tight. I kind of came back on what I originally thought. I originally thought Jedrick Wills was the best O-lineman. Now I think it's going to be Tristan Wirfs. So if Wirfs goes first and to the Giants, it's going to be a good day. If Wills goes first into the Giants, it's not going to be a bad day. I'll leave it at that.
Right. Okay, Gianni, what are some of the O-linemen you have, if you have any?
Yeah, I bet Wills. I got that under 10.5 at minus 185 and bet it again. I think at minus 220. Now it's down to 8.5. So again, I think that's a good bet, win or lose. But as far as the offensive lineman prop, I bet that twice. The first time I bet it was, I think, like the 14th I tweeted out, over 5.5 at minus 350. So I laid some chalk there. I mean, for there to be any value, I had to conclude there's an 80% chance of minus 400. So that's what I bet it. I thought there was a little margin there, still worth a bet. And then two of the groups I give accounts to came in and bet over 6.5 all the way up to minus 150. So that made me feel even better for laying all that chalk. So I got down for myself a little bit at 6.5 also. So I need to see a lot of offensive linemen go in that first round because I got over 5.5 and over 6.5. And again, Wills being one of my biggest bets on that under. So hopefully we see some offensive linemen go.
Wowza. Okay. And then, guys, what bet do you think still has value right now? Or what bets do you guys have that has the best value that you've already bet?
So this is where I wanted to ask Gianni's opinion. So you got to be able to shop. And not everybody can shop here in Vegas and on the East Coast, but luckily I have some good friends. So we took Jake from under 74.5 at Circa from draft position and over 57.5 at FanDuel. That's almost 20 draft spots. It's actually 17. So I'm really excited about that one because it has a nice middle. I do think Jalen Hurts over draft position is still some value. I do think Jalen's going to go late in the second round. I initially bet him to go in the third round, and I had got off that bet last week. And then the one I really think that still holds the most plus money value is running backs. Do not waste the money. We've seen this time and time again. Sorry, Le'Veon Bell and Todd Gurley ruined it for the rest of you. But running backs do not seem to equate to Super Bowls. That's why we had two free agents or two undrafted free agents behind the line of scrimmage last year in the Super Bowl. No running backs to go in the first round. 2-1 pretty much is the best odds you're going to get. There's some plus 180s kind of looking in there. And the first running back's probably going to be Swift, but I don't have him going until the early second round.
Oh, awesome. Okay, Swift. Got it. And Gianni, what are some of the bets that you believe have the best value other than the Wills bet that you have? Anything else?
All right, I'll tell you a couple that I've blasted. Derek Brown, bet him under 8.5 at minus 115. That was one of the first bets I gave out. Bet him again at under all the way up to I think minus 150, and then bet him at under 7.5 and laid a little bit of chalk. So Derek Brown under is one of my bigger bets.
Okay.
If you don't want to lay that chalk, here's a little something I haven't thrown out there yet. It's for whoever's watching here. Derek Brown to go number 3 at plus 400. Just may want to sprinkle a little something little on that, and just hearing a couple rumblings there. That plus 400. There's a lot of value on that side. Who else did I bet? Again, the Hay Bear at number 2, I think it's gone because I was getting plus.
Yanni, I have to ask you, if I've been saying his name wrong this whole time, is it French? Is
Herbert?
it Hay Bear or is it Herbert?
I don't know. I do the same show with Bobby Abear, and he spells it the same way. So that's why I think
it's Herbert, but I thought I was maybe missing something.
I thought so too.
Right.
One of the guys are French. The other guys are, and I guess got a pin stuck in my hair. One of the guys are French, and one of the guys are not.
And the one of the bigger bets also that I made, I wanted to share. Where was it? Was it the Pac-12 players? Total Pac-12 players at over 2.5
for the first round.
Yeah, it's still plus money. Now, when I gave it out again 10 days ago at plus 195 or plus 200, but it's still at plus money. So I think there's some value there. Again, at plus 120 isn't plus 195, but you're still not laying any kind of chalk there. So that being one of our bigger bets, may want to look at that one.
I love it. Okay, is there anything else that you guys want to mention for this draft?
Oh, yeah, there's another one that I saw, and I think this was available at Circa. Don't quote me on it because, of course, I had everything else written down where it was. Back-to-back quarterbacks drafted, yes, plus 135. I really do think it's going to be Herbert and then Tua, and it might not even be plus money anymore. I need to log in and check that out. And that's all I got.
Yeah, there's not much I have either. Yanni, do you have anything else that you might want to throw out there?
Yeah, I would give more my advice of letting bets go. When these lines move a lot, it's just there's no reason to place it, even if you think it's a winner, unless it's a Joe Burrow going number 1 bet where you have to lay so much chalk. Everyone involved already confirmed it. You know, he's done everything but put on that Bengals jersey, more or less. Other than something like that, you got to be able to step away. And it's kind of like the same practice to carry over to your day-by-day betting. If the goal is to make money, the only way you're going to do that is by placing good bets. And if you know, Wills at under 10.5 was a great bet. At under 9.5, probably a good bet. At under 8.5, it's probably a coin flip now. You know what I mean? So that's where you got to be cautious. You don't want to be betting coin flips, or you're not going to be able to win money long term. So any of those bets that you see the line move significantly against you, don't piggyback it unless you like the other side. You could disagree with the market and make even a better bet than you would have, because the market's wrong a lot. But don't chase it. You know what I mean? Don't be that last guy buying Bitcoin. You don't want to be the guy that paid $20,000 for it in November of 2018. Don't be that guy. You know what I mean? You want to be the guy that got in early. Those are the guys that made money doing it. So that's, I think, the best advice I could give going into tomorrow night.
Good advice, Yanni. And then there's just a couple things from Johnny Detroit that he wanted me to throw out there from our friends at William Hill. couple of prop bets. Some of the biggest NFL draft prop bets at William Hill right now. 4,000 to net 5,000 on over 3 quarterbacks drafted in the first round. Juice is 400, which is a little much, but I can totally see that happening. Also, $3,200 to net $5,200 on Jerry Jeudy under 12.5 at -160. And another one is $2,900 to net $4,900 on Jerry Jeudy. Oh, again, also under 12.5 at -145. Wow, everyone really loves Jerry Jeudy to go first still.
God bless those people that have, still 10 dimes in their William Hill account. Good grief.
I know. I'm like, oh, crap, just for the draft. Geez. But good luck to everybody. Please bet responsibly. Let us know if you have any questions for the draft. And where is it going to be on ESPN, ABC, and NFL tomorrow?
Pretty much every channel when you turn your TV on. Everybody wants to air it because it's the only thing on.
Yes, the only thing on. It should be an interesting one. Tomorrow... Gosh, tomorrow, I don't even know what time it's on. Is it 5 p.m. Pacific?
I think so.
5 p.m. Pacific on any channel that sports is on. Awesome, guys. Bet responsibly. Good luck to everyone. Good luck to you guys. Thank you so much for giving us some advice and some of your best bets for the draft. Everyone, remember to tune in again next week here on WagerTalk TV live, same time, same place. I'm Minty. That's Kelly. That's Gianni. Have a great day, guys. Subscribe and hit the little bell icon to get notified every time we go live or upload a new video.